G'day AussieVerse, SingleIssue Steve here, and I'm here to introduce you to our new little segment. So I was talking to Beau a little while ago about maybe we need some music in this thing because we do a lot around comic books and movies and pop culture and stuff. And obviously music is a really, really important part of pop culture. So this little segment we have is called 5 Minutes of Metal. And I'm going to be talking about some of my all-time favorite metal albums. Now, for a lot of people, it might not be their favorite albums. It might be maybe the worst album from that particular artist, but these are my favorite albums for me of all time, and they span over a long period of time. So I'm going to show you some older stuff. I'm going to show you some recent stuff as well, and we're going to have a look today at one of my all-time favorite albums by W.A.S.P, which is this little gem here, the Headless Children. So the Headless Children came out in 1989, I believe it was. And it's their fourth album in their catalogue, pretty much. So first full-length album was their self-titled album, W.A.S.P. The second album was The Last Command, where they started to sort of get probably not a little bit more commercial, but they got a bit more airplay with that. And the third album after that was Inside the Electric Circus, where they shifted away a little bit from what they used to do, and it was a bit more glam rock-like. So a lot of people didn't enjoy that album. I actually did. There's a couple of my favourite all-time W.A.S.P songs on that album. So Restless Gypsy and Sweet Cheetah are two of my favourites on that particular album. It's worth having a look at, but certainly not one of their best albums. And then they decided to almost reinvent themselves and came out with the Headless Children. So the Headless Children is an absolute ball terror of an album. Probably the very first time I heard it was when the opening track, The Heretic, the Lost Child, actually started playing. It completely shifted away from that more sort of glam rock, still heavy sound, but more full-on kind of metal. And it's absolutely kicked me in the ass. I love this album. I love this song. It was a great intro track. There's also the second track on the album is called The Real Me, which is a cover of a song by Pete Townsend, which is pretty cool as well. But there's just so many great tracks on this album. Let me talk to you about some of them. So obviously the Headless Children itself, it's worth reading the lyrics. It's very interesting to read it. It's all about, I guess you could say, what's happening in the world at that particular time. So 1989. Things are happening in the government, different crises around the world and stuff. So it was pretty cool, and sort of summarizes everything that's happening there nicely. You've got Thunderhead as well. Thunderhead is an anti-drug song, and it's a very, very cool song. Really good as well. Mean Man was actually written about the guitarist Chris Holmes. If you've never seen Chris Holmes before, this guy's 6'3". He's an absolute monster of a bloke. Really good guitarist too. And definitely check out some of their videos from around that time because it's well worth looking at as well. We've also got Forever Free, which I think is an absolutely beautiful song. It's not a ballad as such, not what you call a normal sort of slow ballad. It sort of builds up a little bit, but it's really, really nice. And then Man-Eater as well, which is, it's not all the tracks on the album, but these are my favourites as well. So as I said, with this particular album, I'll show it to you guys again. I'll put it in the thumbnail as well. So really, really cool album from 1989. It was, I reckon, a little bit ahead of its time, to be honest with you. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's one of my albums that's in my regular playlist, I guess you could say. There's a lot of tracks on this album that I absolutely love. So if you have never heard of W.A.S.P before, this could be a really good introduction to you, or check out some of their earlier stuff as well. And even some of their newer stuff's pretty good as well. So Blackie Lawless of W.A.S.P, and Blackie Lawless, for those of you who don't know, is the founder of W.A.S.P and also the lead singer. Still making music to these days. It has changed a little bit though. He's discovered religion and Christianity, so a lot of his music is a bit more orientated around his Christian beliefs and things, but early on in the piece, probably not as much. But he had a bit of a spiritual awakening, and that's why things change a little bit. So what I'd recommend, guys, is give this a spin. I'm old school. I still have CDs. I love CDs. This is my first in a series, and we're going to do a few more of these videos as well. So as I said, I'm going to show you some old stuff and some new stuff as well. So W.A.S.P, the Headless Children. If you haven't heard it, it's well worth having a listen to. Thanks for your time. Enjoy. Rock on.